23. In naive or pure camp, the essential element is seriousness, a seriousness that fails. Of course, not all seriousness that fails can be redeemed as camp. Only that which has the proper mixture of the exaggerated, the fantastic, the passionate, and the naive. Number 24. When something is just bad rather than camp, it's often because it is too mediocre in its ambition. The artist hasn't attempted to do anything really outlandish. It's too much. It's too fantastic. It's not to be believed, are standard phrases of camp enthusiasm. Number 25. The hallmark of camp is the spirit of extravagance. Camp is a woman walking around in a dress made of 3 million feathers. Camp is the paintings of Carlo Crivelli with their real jewels and trompe-l'oeil insects and cracks in the masonry. Camp is the outrageous aestheticism of Sternberg's 6 American novels with Dietrich. All 6, but especially the last, The Devil is a Woman. In camp, there is often something démesure in the quality of the ambition, not only in the style of the work itself. Gaudi's lurid and beautiful buildings in Barcelona are camp not only because of their style, but because they reveal, most notably in the Cathedral of the Sagrada Familia, the ambition on the part of one man to do what it takes a generation, a whole culture to accomplish. Number 26. Camp is art that proposes itself seriously but cannot be taken altogether seriously because it is too much. Titus Andronicus and Strange Interlude are almost camp, or could be played as camp. The public manner and rhetoric of de Gaulle often are pure camp. 27. A work can come close to camp but not make it because it succeeds. I'm going to read that again. Number 27. A work can come close to camp, but not make it because it succeeds. Eisenstein's films are seldom camp because, despite all exaggeration, they do succeed dramatically without surplus. If they were a little more off, they could be great camp, particularly Ivan the Terrible 1 and 2. The same for Blake's drawings and paintings. Weird and mannered as they aren't camp, though Art Nouveau, influenced by Blake, is. What is extravagant in an inconsistent or an unpassionate way is not camp. Neither can anything be camp that does not seem to spring from an irrepressible, a virtually uncontrolled sensibility. Without passion, one gets pseudo-camp, what is merely decorative, safe, in a word, chic. On the barren edge of camp lie a number of attractive things, the sleek fantasies of Dali, the haute couture preciosity of Albicoccio's The Girl with the Golden Eyes. But the two things, camp and preciosity, must not be confused. Number 28. Again, camp is the attempt to do something extraordinary, but extraordinary in the sense often of being special, glamorous. The curved line, the extravagant gesture. Not extraordinary merely in the sense of effort. Ripley's Believe It or Not items are rarely campy. These items, either natural oddities, the two-headed rooster, the eggplant in the shape of a cross, or else the products of immense labor, the man who walked from here to China on his hands, the woman who engraved the New Testament on the head of a pin, lack the visual reward, the glamour, the theatricality that marks off certain extravagances as camp. I'm going to read that one again. No, I'm not. Number 29. The reason a movie like On the Beach, books like Winesburg, Ohio, and For Whom the Bell Tolls are bad to the point of being laughable, but not bad to the point of being enjoyable, is that they are too dogged and pretentious. They lack fantasy. There is camp in such bad movies as The Prodigal and Samson and Delilah, the series of Italian color spectacles featuring the superhero Maciste, numerous Japanese science fiction films, Rodan, The Mysterians, The H-Man, because in their relative unpretentiousness and vulgarity, they are more extreme and irresponsible in their fantasy, and therefore touching and quite enjoyable. .30. Of course, the canon of camp can change. Time has a great deal to do with it. Time may enhance what seems simply dogged or lacking in fantasy now because we are too close to it, because it resembles too closely our own everyday fantasies, the fantastic nature of which we don't perceive. We are better able to enjoy a fantasy as fantasy when it is not our own. Number 31. This is why so many of the objects prized by camp taste are old-fashioned, out of date, démodé. It's not a love of the old as such. It's simply that the process of aging or deterioration provides the necessary detachment, or arouses a necessary sympathy. When the theme is important and contemporary, the failure of a work of art may make us indignant. Time can change that. Time liberates the work of art from moral relevance, delivering it over to the camp sensibility. Another effect, time contracts the sphere of banality. Banality is, strictly speaking, always a category of the contemporary. What was banal can, with the passage of time, become fantastic. Many people who listen with delight to the style of Rudy Vallee, revived by the English pop group The Temperance Seven, would have been driven up the wall by Rudy Vallee in his heyday. Thus, things are campy not when they become old, but when we become less involved in them, and can enjoy instead of be frustrated by the failure of the attempt. But the effect of time is unpredictable. Maybe method acting James Dean, Rod Steiger, Warren Beatty will seem as camp someday as Rudy Keeler's does now, or as Sarah Bernhardt's does in the films she made at the end of her career, and maybe not. 32. Camp is the glorification of character. The statement is of no importance except, of course, to the person, Loie Fuller, Gaudí, Cecil B. DeMille, Crivelli, de Gaulle, etc., who makes it. What the camp eye appreciates is the unity, the force of the person. In every move the aging Martha Graham makes, she's being Martha Graham, etc., etc. This is clear in the case of the great serious idol of camp taste, Greta Garbo. Garbo's incompetence, at the least lack of depth, as an actress enhances her beauty. She's always herself. "33. What camp taste responds to is instant character. This is, of course, very 18th century, and conversely, what it is not stirred by is the sense of the development of character. Character is understood as a state of continual incandescence. Character is understood as a state of continual incandescence, a person being one very intense thing. This attitude toward character is a key element of the theatricalization of experience embodied in the camp sensibility. And it helps account for the fact that opera and ballet are experienced as such rich treasures of camp, for neither of these forms can easily do justice to the complexity of human nature. Wherever there is development of character, camp is reduced. Among operas, for example, La Traviata, which has some small development of character, is less campy than Il Trovatore, which has none. Life is too important a thing ever to talk seriously about. Vera or the Nihilists. Number 34, camp taste turns its back on the good-bad axis of ordinary aesthetic judgment. Camp does reverse things. It doesn't argue that the good is bad or the bad is good. What it does is to offer for art and life a different, a supplementary set of standards. Number 35, ordinarily we value a work of art because of the seriousness and dignity of what it achieves. We value it because it succeeds in being what it is and presumably in fulfilling the intention that lies behind it. We assume a proper, that is to say, straightforward relation between intention and performance. By such standards, we appraise the Iliad, Aristophanes' plays, the art of the fugue, Middlemarch, the paintings of Rembrandt, Chartres, the poetry of Donne, the Divine Comedy, Beethoven's quartets, and among people, Socrates, Jesus, St. Francis, Napoleon, Savonarola. In short, the pantheon of high culture, truth, beauty, and seriousness. "36. But there are other creative sensibilities besides the seriousness, both tragic and comic, of high culture and of the high style of evaluating people, and one cheats oneself as a human being if one has respect only for the style of high culture, whatever else one may do or feel on the sly. For instance, there is the kind of seriousness whose trademark is anguish, cruelty, derangement. Here we do accept a disparity between intention and result. I am speaking, obviously, of a style of personal existence as well as of a style in art. But the examples had best come from art. Think of Bosch, Sade, Rimbaud, Jerry, Kafka, Artaud. Think of most of the important works of art of the 20th century. That is, art whose goal is not that of creating harmonies, but of overstraining the medium and introducing more and more violent and unresolvable subject matter. This sensibility also insists on the principle that an oeuvre, in the old sense, again in art, but also in life, is not possible. Only fragments are possible. Clearly, different standards apply here than to traditional high culture. Something is good not because it is achieved, but because another kind of truth about the human situation, another experience of what it is to be human, in short, another valid sensibility, is being revealed. And third among the great creative sensibilities is camp. The sensibility of failed seriousness, of the theatricalization of experience. Camp refuses both the harmonies of traditional seriousness and the risks of fully identifying with extreme states of feeling.